I pulled this out of chapter 14 so that I could highlight some information with you. It says understanding proposals, because I know one of the questions you're going to ask me on this assignment, the one where you fill in the chart, you're going to wonder, what do you mean by proposal? Well, we're going over the 4 features of a proposal so you could understand what it would have to have in it. You don't have to go into detail or anything, but you have to understand what kind or what all you need to put in it when you eventually do a full-blown proposal. Okay, and this is in chapter 14.2. As a specialized form of argument, proposals have many of the same features that characterize other kinds of arguments, including a clear main idea and support for that idea. And again, you studied this chapter 11, talking about your main idea and having evidence from experts to back it up. But because proposals focus on making a convincing case for a plan to address a specific problem, they have 4 main features that other kinds of arguments typically do not have. The first feature they have in a proposal is a clear statement of the problem. Because a proposal seeks support for a project or a plan of action, must provide a statement of the problem that the project or plan of action will try to solve. The writer must clearly identify the problem to be addressed, explain why the problem needs a solution, and show why it should matter to the reader. Whether the proposal is a general one intended for a wide audience, or a more specific proposal seeking grant funding, support for an activity, or approval of a proposed project, the writer must convince the intended audience that the problem is significant and worth solving. Now, when you're talking about this, it is very important to state the problem and understand who would be interested in that. For example, some students have been bothered at our Brookhaven campus by the fact that there isn't adequate lighting in the parking lots when it's dark, and many of them take night classes. And some have written a proposal to the president of the Brookhaven campus. This was actually before we all became part of Dallas College, but their audience was the president of the college. Well, if they had written me in there as the audience, I can't do anything about it. I'm interested because I'm going to give them a grade. But what if they decided, because Subway is on the Brookhaven campus, what if they wanted to give it to the manager of Subway? Well, that's ridiculous. That person doesn't even care, probably, because they probably fold up and close shop before it gets dark. I don't know. But I think you get my drift. Make sure that you understand who your audience is and that you clearly tell them what the problem is. There is not adequate lighting in the parking lots near J building. Okay. Another feature is a description. You got to describe the proposed project or plan. The main section of most proposals is the description of the plan, project, or idea, one of those things that is intended to address the problem. Effective proposals present their plans in sufficient detail to give readers a clear sense of what is being proposed. Formal grant or research proposals often follow very specific guidelines or describing the project, including a detailed description of the methods and techniques that the researcher will use in the project, but even more in more general proposals, the proposed solution or plan of action should be clearly described. So we see that the description that has the components that were mentioned here is the main part of your proposal. So this is where students went in and talked about the lighting and the problems that they saw, and they actually had to go into do research on different modes of electricity, how much it would cost to add electric lights, how about solar lights, and so they had to do some deep research that you have to do on this, because you can't just say, well, you need to go buy new lighting. No, you need to tell the president of Brookhaven how much it's going to cost him, because that is the bottom line. We all know that. People don't want to spend a lot of money, but they will if there's a good use for it, if they can get something. If that means more students will be coming at night, then great. You'd like to, they want students to be safe too, because they don't want to be sued. But the college is going to say, why benefit? Well, how's this going to benefit our campus? Most of our kids come during the day. So you got to make that very clear. Another feature is, notice that the features are in the purple part, a compelling rationale for the proposed project or plan of action. So the key to a successful proposal is the rationale or the reasoning that explains why the proposed project or plan of action will solve the problem identified in the proposal. The rationale is the writer's main argument for the project or plan. A good proposal not only makes a persuasive case that the problem is an important one, but also establishes compelling grounds for supporting the proposed plan of action or project. And that's where you would put in for the lighting, you would make a persuasive case. Maybe you would go to the campus records and find out how many assault cases there have been at night as opposed to during the day on the Brookhaven campus. Or you could say in the Richland campus also. So that would be, and so you could say, well, it's going to increase the safety of our students. It will be more attractive for people to come at night. I know I've had a lot of single mothers who come at night, and women, I know that we talk about the differences of the genders and all, but women are more vulnerable, although I'm not going to say men have not been assaulted, but it might make them look a little bit better, or it might make them think about maybe a night class. I'm just saying. Okay. Again, you got to tell the president how this is going to be something he needs to fix right now. Okay, then you need to have appropriate evidence. Okay, so have your appropriate evidence. That goes back to that chapter 11 that we talked about earlier. Like all effective arguments, proposals should include appropriate and credible evidence for the writer's claim. Usually, a proposal a writer makes has two general claims. It claims about the problem being addressed and claims about the proposed solution. So the claims about the problem being addressed, you would bring in the people who've been assaulted, or people who've been hit by a car because it's dark outside, those types of things. Then the solution then talk about how other campuses have put in solar lighting and the crime decreased by a certain amount of time. Now, again, you're going to have to do research. So if you're going to set this on the table, like some of y'all did with the classical argument, and not do your work each week, you're not going to do well on it. You got to just take a little, remember how we talked about time management. I know that you don't like going back over that, but it might be worth it for you to go back over your time management, set aside a part of the day to this. I know you've got many things that you're working on. I'm just trying to help you out here. So just make sure that you put aside time to work on this. It says here in both cases here about these right here, governing principles governing the use of evidence in argumentation apply in that chapter, appraising and using evidence, chapter 11. The stronger the evidence, the more convincing the proposal will be. Now, I'm going to take this off. This will not be part of that. I'll show you that later, or just don't pay attention to that, because you'll see this on another one.